looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. The back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz taking you out of May and into June as we get closer and closer to football season here on the Believe Network. We're presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, and I'm your host, Russ Elvin of Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, and my co-host, Neil Meyer. From the frontofficenews.com, we'll be hopping on in just a few moments as we get to an all-football episode of things here. We have game time set for the first three contests for the Bearcats 2026 season. All three games happening inside the city of Cincinnati confines. And then we will get to the big news surrounding Brendan Sorsby, who has officially been ruled ineligible by the NCAA to continue or to play out his final year of college eligibility after his gambling practices surfaced over the last few months. All that and more coming up on Bearcat Blitz. But first, we got to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the Big 12 conference winner for the upcoming football season. Texas Tech still the firm heavy favorite at plus 100. Next closest odds is BYU at plus 550. Is Cincinnati still lowest on the board? They are not. They have gone from 100 to 1 to 80 to 1 in the last 3 days or so, since they were tied with Colorado for the lowest odds among any Big 12 team to win the conference this coming season. They now have the second lowest odds to win the whole thing at 80 to 1, followed by Colorado in the basement at 100 to 1. If you think the Bearcats can shock the world and win the Big 12 in year 4 of Scott Satterfield's tenure, head to FanDuel Sportsbook and make your wager today. And check out all of the other markets they have, including the NBA playoff market still cooking. Game 7 coming up this weekend between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs, getting ready to take on a heavily rested New York Knicks team after they swept the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. FanDuel Sportsbook, your place to bet on the NBA playoffs, your place to bet on college football, all over the place throughout their wager rundown. Get into the show in just a moment here on Bearcat Blitz. Kicking things off on this all-football edition of Bearcat Blitz after a few months of just heavy basketball. We're starting to creep towards full-on summer and creep towards football season, and that means, Neil, some game times arising from the Big 12 media releases proper. 3:30 and later kickoffs all the way across the board for Cincinnati to start their 2026 season. 3:30 kickoff at home against Boston College on September 5th. A nip at night, although it's a little unfortunate that a nip at night is getting wasted on Western Carolina on Saturday, September 12th, but you'll take the nip at nights when you can get them for the fan base. And then September 19th, a 3:30 p.m. Eastern kick as well. Neil, I hate all these kickoff times, especially wasting a nip at night on Western Carolina and getting 0 noon kickoffs, but this is much better for the fans who love the tailgate. Bad for us media folk, much better for the fans, and we like what's good for the fans, so we'll clap there.
Yeah, and for those who always, we saw it the last few years, Russ, the trend that was big noon kickoff essentially for Cincinnati has felt like all the fans hated those noon kickoffs. Personally, I know you liked them. I liked them because we had different opinions on it because we would get out of work a little bit earlier and we would still have some time left in our day. But 3:30 kickoff all the way through non-conference besides the nip at night game versus Western Carolina. I'm not a fan of it, just like you said, but I do like that Cincinnati has their times released. But Boston College, maybe I could see a 3:30 kickoff time. You can maybe argue that one a little bit more, but Miami of Ohio at a neutral site at 3:30. Don't know if I like that one. Western Carolina, Nip at night. I really don't like that one, especially being the second week of September. Nip at night is meant for late September, October, November kind of atmosphere. So it's going to be curious. It's going to be interesting.
This is the first time, Neil, that the first time in my coverage tenure that they have played an FCS team at night. It's pretty. That's just it doesn't happen very often.
They played the Victory Bell back there in Sat's first year at night, and that was when Cincinnati lost in overtime. But
I'm saying FCS though, just non-FBS team. To waste a night game on them, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and unless they're anticipating that being Isaiah Johnson's return, get back versus Western Carolina, and they're playing the whole night game around that, I don't know. I mean, it could be a cool story if that happens. Say he goes for 203 touchdowns, that would be a cool atmosphere, a cool story, but.
Not for Bearcat fans. That would be a bad story for Bearcat fans. They give up 200 to Isaiah Johnson.
I know a good story for Isaiah Johnson, like to go.
You mean him to do that against his old team, sure.
Yeah, but I don't like that time frame. Being brutally honest, I don't. But you take what you can get, and you take what time those TV slots can give you. Because if you look at the schedule right now, the game versus Boston College week 1, it looks like it's going to be a potential primetime showdown, whether that's an ESPN, an ESPN2. Looks like some of these TV slots kind of played into their favor, but me personally, I would have liked to see these games be noon and maybe the Miami game be a 3:30. That's what I ideally would have done, but you got to take what the TV can give you, and TV slots will give you, because you look back, Miami of Ohio on ESPN Plus, Nippert Stadium, Boston College on Fox, so you can take that one in the primetime slot there, but everything else on ESPN Plus, that's where you wish those games probably would have been at noon.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that the game they were able to probably control the most out of all of them, Neil, is the ESPN Plus game that they put at 7 p.m. So, yeah, it just screams to me, Neil, that they aren't anticipating getting any conference night games. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be multiple Nip at nights? I would be stunned, given where Cincinnati lands on the easternmost portion of the Big 12 geography. It's just like once you get to those conference slates, it's tough to put Cincinnati anywhere but the noon and 3:30 window, just because then you're probably forcing a Utah and Arizona State and Arizona, or one of those teams way out west, to play way early, to play on almost morning kickoff time in their local precinct.
Yeah, and when you look down at the schedule too for Cincinnati, the only game that logistically makes sense for them to play a night game, maybe homecoming versus Texas Tech, but that might be up in the air now with the Brendan Sorsby news, because that was the storyline there. It was Texas Tech at night, potentially Brendan Sorsby homecoming. Yeah, that I could argue Nip at night, but since he got ruled ineligible, which we'll get into later, I don't know if I see that being a night game right now. Utah, maybe on Halloween being a night game, I could see. But other than that, I don't see anything being a night game at Nip, unfortunately, other than those two games.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado, I just think, honestly, I think Utah is the only game, because that's an out west team that you can say, hey, that's not a week where we would be that's a week where we would have one less way west team to have to worry about giving them a really early kickoff time versus to be able to give Cincinnati that later kickoff time. So I'm with Neil. I think the only other candidate to be a Nip at night is Halloween night against Utah at home. So that would be a huge Nip at night to lock down, because this likely going to need all of the firepower you can muster against the Utah Utes whenever they're coming to town. Utah, one of the 3 odds-on favorites to win the Big 12, plus 750 on the board. BYU mixed in there as well. I mean, UC plays Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, Kansas State, Houston, and Arizona. I mean, those are your 6 of your top 8 odds right there on the board right now to win the Big 12. So a tough slate, and one of the biggest reasons why Cincinnati has the second lowest odds to win the Big 12 this fall, and has the clear toughest schedule among all Big 12 teams when factoring in last season's winning percentage. Would love somebody to do the Warren Sharp method and break it down by betting win totals. Maybe that's something I'll do when I get some more time this summer. Taking a quick break here and getting to the big news of the week surrounding Brendan Sorsby after we got clarity on his eligibility and just wrapped up talking about the Bearcats' first 3 kickoff times of the 2026 season. All that more coming up on Bearcat Blitz, where we are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, and you can bet on the national title winner for college football this coming season, Cincinnati. What are those odds sitting at right now? 1,000 to 1. Cincinnati is to win the overall college football playoff this coming season. 1,000 to 1. That's just astounding. Literally, you bet $1, and if Cincinnati lifts the trophy, you win $1,000. For perspective, the top odds on the board, plus 550, 5.5 to 1, essentially. The Ohio State Buckeyes are to win the national championship. It's Notre Dame right behind them at 7 to 1, Texas at 7 to 1, Indiana at 8 to 1, Oregon at 8 to 1, and Georgia at plus 850 as your 6 teams with odds shorter than 10 to 1 to win the 2027 national title. Bet on it on FanDuel Sportsbook. Head there today and check out that college football market on top of so many other markets across so many sports that they offer on the FanDuel Sportsbook. A couple of quick messages, and then we'll get to Brendan Sorsby's eligibility status right here on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Closing things out on this episode of Bearcat Blitz, Neil. Pretty well-expected news, but notable news nonetheless. The NCAA is seemingly not really hearing any case from Brendan Sorsby. They don't seem very interested to hear any of the appeals he's making. They have deemed him ineligible for the 2026 season. The litigation still ongoing with his lawsuit against the NCAA to try to give him what they just gave him. It's a firm denial of his eligibility status for the upcoming season. And Neil, it seems like all paths lead to him entering the supplemental draft before the deadline on June 22nd. And then according to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, the supplemental draft not nailed down with a date just yet, but it will happen sometime in July. And I would expect Brendan Sorsby to be participating in an NFL training camp and not as a part of the Texas Tech roster moving forward.
Yeah, and Russ, the biggest thing to take away from the news that Brendan Sorsby was deemed ineligible and that his case against the NCAA was kind of denied was there really any logical thinking that thought, hey, he might be able to come out of this thing and play for Texas Tech this season? Me personally, I never saw a path for that when this all came out. So when you look down and you see it immediately got denied and they filed this lawsuit, and it sounds like there's a court appearance on Monday, which is June 1st. Russ, I don't anticipate much coming out of that court case, court hearing.
Because the only path he has to playing is going to be an injunction, and to get an injunction from the court system, you have to be able to reasonably prove that there's a chance, given prior history, that you could beat this case. Given prior history in college athletics, there is no history of someone committing infractions to this level in terms of betting on sports and betting on their own sport that would allow them or has seen that player come back to play. So I would be stunned if a court gave him that injunction that would allow this case to play out across the next year and allow him to play for Texas Tech this fall. It's just has never been in the cards historically for that to happen. Even though he has apologized, all that stuff, we get it. He's checking the boxes to try to get out there and play and collect that $4 to $6 million, which I would be doing everything I possibly could to do that as well. And you have everything possibly being done by Texas Tech to see him play, including Joey McGuire yesterday saying that it's best for Brendan Sorsby to be on the field and be around his teammates to get through this gambling addiction. Although it didn't seem to help him with his gambling addiction when he was playing football at an extremely high level last year. So I don't understand how that that case can even be remotely argued in the court of law. But they're going to try their hardest, Neil, to do everything.
And the thing too is when you look down, like Joey McGuire's comments yesterday, Russ, were laughable, right? When you look at it, because he said,
right. And I'm not going to throw a ton of shade at him just because that's what every coach would do in this situation.
Yeah, he's just protecting his guy. I get it. But the fact that says, the quote unquote says, whenever that happens, I do believe he made a mistake. I do believe there should be consequences. However, it is my opinion that he should not be penalized for the rest of this year or his career. I think when you look at that, he has been honest and transparent about it. He has a serious problem. I think the best place for him to get help, and the president Shavanek alluded to this, is for him to be at Texas Tech. I respect him saying the best place for him to get help is at Texas Tech, because that's where all of the resources are helping him get to the rehab aspect. But unfortunately, no one's saying it's going to carry with him the rest of his career. There's still a path for Brendan to get to the NFL. It's just not the ideal path and something that hasn't been done frequently. But there's still an opportunity for him to go out there and play out in the NFL, essentially. But I do think a punishment should be there for the college aspect. And a year suspension, I mean, it's pretty blatant. Like, you look at the issues in the past, Iowa State, the Hunter Decker situation, that has been the standard in years past. Now, I know that Brendan offered, he believes there should be a penalty as well. He offered to serve a penalty. I think it was a 2-game suspension, and be an advocate for these addictions. But 2 games, like you mentioned, and you see the comments.
That's first 2 games of the year. Let's check out what those look like for Texas.
Abilene Christian and Texas State, which goes back to what I said a few weeks ago on the show, was, hey, now these comments come out where Texas Tech and Texas are apparently beefing. Steve Sarkisian and Joey McGuire now going back and forth like, they will pay the buyout for these 2 games right now to play Texas week 1. Okay, so that's ideal. That's a great matchup. But ideally, it's back to what I said a few weeks ago. Like, those are 2 cakewalk of a games. It clearly shows what they're thinking about those 2 opponents. If they're saying, okay, I'd pay the buyout right now, is what Cody Campbell said in the tweet online. Like, come on, like, you know what I mean? Those 2 games are cakewalks if you move the needle on that. So I don't know. I believe there should be a penalty. It sucks to say that because we were so close to Brendan and he had always been great with us. But
right, it's just commenting on the situation. Brendan's, I mean, he was awesome to us. Very nice guy, very good with the media. Gave us extra stuff to the media that you don't maybe normally see from a quarterback. So this has nothing to do with us commenting on Brendan Sorsby, the person. This is just on the situation.
Yeah, and it's just a situation where A, you don't want to see anybody go through, but B, it's one that is going to set the precedent for years and years to come. Say they give him eligibility on Monday. It's just a leeway for the NCAA to continue to allow stuff like this to happen and to continue the landscape going 20 different avenues, right? We already seen it with the NIL. We already seen it with the 5 for 5, the G League players coming back to college basketball. Like, the NCAA has a lot of things at the forefront right now. The last thing you want to do is you give a guy an injunctment for a gambling thing, and then other issues surface because of it, per se, and this becomes a common trend. So you want to nip it in the butt. I think the year suspension is what, unfortunately, is the best thing. And Brendan go, and maybe a team spends a 3rd or 4th round or a 5th round even on a supplementary draft pick and say, okay, let's just get this start to the pro career and see where we're at. Because the team's going to do it, Russ. Let's be honest. The team's going to do it.
Yeah.
But
at least the 7th round pick. There's no way there's so many. Like, you got the Jets giving Cade Klubnik a 4th round pick line in the 2026 NFL draft. I mean, the Browns are maybe going to go back to Deshaun Watson. They're willing to go back to Deshaun Watson and his. And
I'm telling you right now, Brendan could outplay Dylan Gabriel right now.
Probably, yeah.
I would take Brendan over
Brendan Sorsby. I would pick him in the supplemental draft on the Browns today, and I would just throw him out there over any of the options I'm throwing out right now. We know what Deshaun Watson is, a broken down predator of a human. We know what Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are, not adequate enough at the quarterback level to be able to lead you to do anything at that position. So the Cleveland Bearcats, man, they might gain another. I would be honestly a little surprised if we got to the 6th or 5th round on this odds, or what would this be, like an auction, I guess it would be, for Brendan Sorsby, and the Browns weren't involved there. So I mean, there are a few teams with nothing to lose if it's just a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick that they're giving up, and they would lose that in 2027.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Your teams are not going to lose anything essentially by spending a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounder on him, right?
I mean, the Browns spent a 2nd round supplemental draft pick on Josh Gordon 12 years ago or 13 years ago. Clearly
Right.
worked out for them, and that was a high draft capital pick in terms of value.
And you look at teams right now, there's a lot of teams that are needing a quarterback, essentially. The Jets being one of them.
Cardinals. The Cardinals have their current starting quarterback, a longtime journeyman backup, Jacoby Brissett, holding out to get more money from the Cardinals.
And
That's how bad their quarterback situation.
And Gardner Minshew is their backup. Arizona could also be in the mix. Who else could also be in the mix?
Don't tell Carson Beck that, Neil. Don't tell Carson Beck, Gardner.
That is true. They did draft Carson Beck, but that's a 6-year college man right there.
Right. I mean, I would take Brendan Sorsby over Carson Beck right now, just in terms of his overall ceiling. But I mean, then again, it's a player who has not won a game in the month of November as a starter. So there's that as well. Obviously, some circumstances outside of his control with those losses over the last couple of years. Interesting situation with Brendan Sorsby. Neil, I think you and I are both in agreement. We're gonna this time next month. I would be shocked if he's not already in the supplemental draft. And then this time, 2 months from now, while we're talking about fall camp, we'll probably be touching on Brendan Sorsby. I would imagine getting picked in that supplemental draft and getting ready to either join a training camp or get in the mix for the start of training camp somewhere by the end of July. Just an unfortunate situation. Like I want to cover him coming back to Texas Tech. I want to cover him playing for the Red Raiders. I was happy for Brendan Sorsby to see the success and the skyrocket in terms of overall earning potential that he experienced over the past few years, and just being a seemingly really nice, solid guy overall. Just the stuff can happen to the best of people, and we hope Brendan Sorsby continues to recover and gets as well as possible and can turn this all around and make millions throughout his potential NFL career. There's still plenty of earning potential for Brendan Sorsby to tap into. It's not the end of his life or career or anything like that. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. Be back at it next week. Hope everybody has a lovely final weekend of May.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards.